Welcome back to the Create Harmony podcast. Let me tell you what you're going to find here. In this space, we settle into an intentional rhythm, and it's one that helps us savor life's blessings and ground ourselves in gratitude. And today, we get to expand that space a little wider. I'm going to be joined by a guest whose work and presence reflect much of what we value here at Create Harmony: connection, intention, and a deep respect for the rhythms that shape our lives. So wherever you are, settle in, take a breath, and join us for this conversation. Before we start into our conversation today with our guest, I want to make a quick note about what we're doing this summer. It's summer season here where we live here in North Carolina, and we are going to be doing a series of conversations all about hobbies or things that you do in your leisure time. And the reason we're taking some time to focus on that is because we believe that taking time off, slowing your life down, and doing the things that bring you joy, lift your spirits, can be really, really restorative. And we want to suggest lots of options for you this summer. So all of our conversations are going to be hobby oriented, and you won't want to miss a single one. All right, welcome. We are so happy today to have Denise Baker joining us. And I'll just go ahead and start out and tell you that Denise, the way that I know Denise is that she happens to be married to our wonderful pastor. But there is a lot more to her than just that. And we're going to talk about that today. Denise is a fabulous cook/chef. I would call her a chef. Maybe, I don't know whether she calls herself that. We'll let her talk about that in a minute. They have a very robust Sabbath rhythm that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into a few things, mental health. So much to look forward to, and welcome, Denise. We're so glad to have you.
So honored, Sally, to be a part of your show, Create Harmony. I love the title. It is so exciting, and I so appreciate your invitation.
Well, great. We're so glad to have you. So let's just jump right into food. I will say that Denise, I have eaten some of the food that Denise has cooked before, and it was, fabulous is really, let me underline that 2 or 3 times. She does such interesting things. You just learn all about a certain region. So tell us sort of your journey into cooking all the wonderful things that you cook.
Gosh, I love, first of all, when I first got married, I'd been married 38 years yesterday. So I did not know how to cook or what to cook. I just know that I love a plan. And my father, a long time ago, 38 years ago, got me this subscription to a magazine, and I followed everything religiously out of that magazine. So, because it was seasonal, and I was able to use the magazine's menus to help me. So for about 20 years, I really leaned into this magazine and other cookbooks a little bit. And finally, one day, 20 years later, I said, okay, family, I'm just really tired. What can we learn about another country? And we have delved into, since then, so I've been married 18 years ago, maybe 23 different countries. And we did each country for a month at a time so that we could learn the culture, the rhythms, the habits, the government, the food, but the food was really the big part. And then we'd have a huge potluck at the end of the month, and I would invite people around our community to come bring food from that region, and we'd celebrate with like 30, 40 different dishes. But I would write about it and blog about it, about what it meant for us to be a global, sort of understanding the global concept of a country, and to also, the biggest thing for us was that we wanted to pray for that country. So I have done countries like Egypt, Russia, Ethiopia, Spain, Italy, France, all those normal ones. But one of the biggest countries that we had a big potluck for, 2 of them, Spain and Egypt. I kid you not, we had 80 people, I think, for Egypt. people really were interested.
That's so cool. I don't really
Yeah.
know a lot about Egyptian food. What types of things
Oh my goodness, there's
do you remember?
yes, one of them is one of our favorite foods is this soup. I love soups. It does not matter. I can have a soup in the summer, dead heat. One of them is a meat and tomato based soup, and it is so mild and a tiny bit of rice in it, and it is so good. But the umami flavors in that soup is just so good. So we love umami. We love the flavor profile upon flavor profile upon flavor profile. Well, this brings me to today, or in the last several years, where I love to create menus just around my Sabbath, but around the week. And I also like to draw out what the menu looks like on a plate. So if I make a menu of like meat and potatoes and appetizers, and dessert and our Sabbath, I'll draw the plate and then I'll draw the foods around it. But before I get to that point, I have a lovely book also. It's like an art book. And in there, I'll brainstorm, and it's like of all the foods that I think would work for whatever I'm feeling. And then I'll transfer it over onto plates and see how I feel about it. And that's what it comes up with.
I love it. I love it. What I love about this is not only is the food exceptionally delicious and just extraordinary in
Yes.
so what we had a little bit technical difficulty, but what I was going to say was I really love that not only is your food absolutely extraordinarily delicious and not just, if you're going to study the Middle East, you're not going to just get hummus, you're going to go further than that. But it's just such a great example of curiosity about the world, of learning about other people and taking a habit or a hobby that you like, an interest, and really just going deep into it, learning and growing, and the description of the plate, all about how you create art out of that. And, you just come at it from so many different angles. And I love that. I feel inspired. Like, I feel like I need to round out some of my hobbies a little more.
Well, it's a passion, and I love cooking, and it's something that I just feel really comfortable doing.
So how do you choose the country?
So fun. We have each of the kids at the time they started with us when they were young teenagers. Write out a country they'd like to know and put it on a little piece of paper. We put it in a baseball cap, and all five of us, three kids, pull out and then we put sticks by whatever got the most countries, and that's what it was. And then I would look up a cookbook or several cookbooks or the library, and then I would bring that book home and go through the process of we would only cook from that cookbook or that country for the entire month. There was no other food. We'd always eat 30, 40 meals a month from that country so that we'd get a really good sense of that country. Yeah, it wasn't just one time a week or once a month. It was really like sometimes 3 times a day.
Yeah.
I remember one time we did India, and I did it so much. There's clearly like Indian spices. When you go in an Indian restaurant, there are clearly Indian spices that you smell really when you go in. Well, our house, after a month, Kevin went to acquire, my husband did, and they said, "Did you go to an Indian restaurant? Because, gosh, you smell so good." He said, "My wife is cooking Indian, and all of our house is smelling like
we are, leaning into India, the flavors of India.
And people knew about this. So that's how I have our family pick out a country each month. And before the end of the month, because I blogged, I would always go, "We've got our country for the next month." And that's because I needed to lean in like on week 3. What was the next month? And then at our community potluck, I'd say, "Okay, our next country is going to be Russia." So
I love that. I love that. So I know that now that your children are older and your rhythms are a little bit different in your household, you're still doing a lot of cooking, but maybe not focusing on a country every month.
Yes.
Okay.
I am doing a lot of cooking, and a lot of my cooking is based around like our Sabbath. on Friday.
Okay, so
And
let's merge into
yeah,
that. Talk to us about what you mean when you say Sabbath.
so our Sabbath has been an evolving journey
Okay.
from way back when my husband became a pastor over 33 years ago. And as you know, pastors really, they can't have Sunday off. So that's typically Lord's Day. You have Sabbath. People just enjoy Sunday. Well, we couldn't really. It was really difficult. And we had the three little kids. So we chose Friday as a Sabbath rhythm. And we wouldn't have called it Sabbath then. We just called it Friday, day off. And Kevin's first parish was near the Outer Banks. And we decided, okay, kids, let's get out of town and go to Nag's Head every Friday. So we would call that our Friday rhythm day off for Kevin and for our family. So it evolved all the way through different various stages of what we called Friday. We'll try pizza night. We'll do movie night. We'll do, game night. Every Friday was a rhythm. And we got introduced in 2014 to a book when the term Sabbath was really taking off as a term, um, by a book by Matthew Sleeth called 24/7, which is this incredible book. I'll give you all these resources, but this incredible book, 24/6, and he turned us on. He's a medical doctor, but he turned us on about what is missing in our lives. We are so busy as a culture and as American culture, we are so busy doing, going, being, not being, but just doing. And he introduced us to, instead of being a human doing, let us become human beings.
Mm-hmm.
He introduced his wife is actually Jewish. So he introduced us this way of creating Sabbath, which was so like, whoa, what do we do? I actually took it a little bit further and said, let's start inviting our kids back into Friday night dinners rather as opposed to just calling them Friday night dinners. We're going to call them Shabbat, which is Jewish concept of Sabbath, and they always have it on Friday. So per usual, I'm a good planner. I tend to find books on what this looks like. So our first Sabbath was really rough. We didn't know what we were doing. But over the last 12 years, we've learned Hebrew. We know songs. We are in the rhythm of lighting candles to mark the evening for Sabbath for us. We call it Sabbath for Jewish. It's 25 hours. We put aside all things that are just related to work, politics, arguments, anything. So we light our candles and we introduce our evening by offering a blessing. And so we bring in this rhythm of Sabbath and it's letting go. It's just this breath, letting go of that week before and just entering into this harmony, this breathing.
A reset. It sounds like a reset.
Reset. But what made the difference for us is, we did all the pizza, we did all the, movies, we did all these things before. What was so interesting is we lit candles. Two candles, and here I brought some of the candles, I lit candles. We burned them down too. These wood candles made out of olive wood. They're from Jerusalem. And we would say this blessing and I would just bring it in, the light, the air. And that began our Sabbath rhythm. And we would have liturgy around it. We'd have music. We'd have our dinner. We'd have our high and low question. We would have a high and low moment, our interesting question for the evening. We go around the table. We started this in Graham 2 churches ago. And we would be invitational to our church or people who might need a meal or open up our table. Those kinds of things that really blossomed. And we were very diligent. 6:30 were appetizers, 7 was dinner. And we would go until like 10 or 11 because we'd have music afterwards, or somebody would give us a poem, or somebody would play games, or we would do a puzzle. But mostly we would have music. We would entertain. We would I don't know, beatbox. We would do whatever we could find for the just a few hours afterward to keep that like lovely moment of just enjoyment with one another. So that was the beginning of our Sabbath 12 years ago, and we still do. Our kids know the liturgy. Our grandchildren know the Hebrew liturgy. They are now it's a culture. It takes 3 years for a culture. So the first year, the second year, and the third year, by the third year, it's become a culture. So that's exactly what we do. And since then, I became part of a program called Sabbath Living. I went all over the state to talk about what we do for Shabbat, how to live into it. It wasn't easy because what wasn't easy is it's dedicated one day. Because it's hard. You just have what we were doing was intentional,
Right.
but needed rest. He wasn't going to get it on Sunday. And barring emergencies, funerals, people
Sure.
in the hospital, we would participate every Friday, 7 o'clock. Didn't matter where we were. We did them in hotel rooms. I'd bring my candles with me. It didn't matter. And very few times we didn't do that. And which was quite difficult. And sometimes when it's just Kevin and I, we've done it ourselves together a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. What I love about it is that, when we think about Sabbath, I think as a culture, even in the religious world, there's not a lot that we just know the word and it means rest, and we don't really do much with that. And we all move on and go to the grocery store on Sunday. But this Sabbath observance is not just about sitting still or not working, the absence of work. It's about community and connection and resetting your lives in the ways of really savoring the things that are most important to you and really acknowledging, being intentional about making those connections. You have such a welcoming presence to all the things that you do, and I love that community aspect of it. I just think that's amazing.
I love that you said that. I have been looking for this artist who drew this picture, and I've been thinking, gosh, I need somebody whose art, because I wrote an article out in Church Health, and I'm going to give you this resource as well, so you can put it on the end of your podcast. But it's called Searching for Sabbath, 1 Day in 7 for Better Health. So it's about health and what Sabbath can help you with your whole mental wellness, mental health. And I've been looking for this artist or somebody to do a picture like this because it represents our table, our family, the people we invited. And I want you to look at that.
Okay. Look at
Yeah.
that. That is so cool. It's so open and it's connected, but then open, which I like both of those.
This artisan captured, after reading my article, what we had in our table. And she didn't even talk to me. She just read this article and it was like, it was wonderful. So I've been looking for somebody to do this.
There's something about that picture that also seems like it has flow, which I like. It's like people flowing in and out and, connecting to the table. So I love that. I think that it sounds like you really have found a flow with your observance of Shabbat and Sabbath.
Yes. Yeah. So it's been a wonderful addition, and it's a wonderful part of who we are in our lives. I mean, we are not, we are guided by Sabbath, by Friday nights, by the intentionality of lighting lights, breaking of bread. And of course, my husband, makes the challah, and he's learned how to do it beautifully. So every Friday we can, break bread together. And we also do both, we have Protestant liturgy, and we also have, the Jewish liturgy in there. We also have children's Sabbath. We use this. We created our own our Sabbath table liturgy, but we've also created, when you have children, how to do Sabbath with children. So So,
and what a legacy for them. I mean, I loved it when you said that your children and your grandchildren had memorized the liturgy, because that's such an important thing to pass down through in the Bible. If you go all the way back to the Bible, a lot of that history was oral, and it was passed down through generations and generations. And this is like the updated version of that, passing down the sacred traditions to the next generation, which I love.
We love that. And we feel like our grandchildren, they know how to light the lights. They love the bread. They are participants in the singing. They even know the Hebrews singing. And so it's kind of cool. I mean, whether, it's kind of, messy, but fun.
Yes.
We all are learning the Hebrew part of this too. So it's just really, we are grafted into the story of the Jewish people. We are grafted into that story. So we are a part of that. And I think, taking this one day to be a human being and not a human doing and setting aside this time has been key for this family.
Yes. And I hear a little bit of gratitude underneath. It's gratefulness for the blessings that you have and the food that you have and the people that you have. I mean, I love the whole spirit of it. I think it's beautiful.
One thing I might add around our table is whenever we ask a question, like there's a high and low, we always ask everybody the high and low. And then a question like, perhaps, who would you like to have around the fireplace and have a chat with? And what would you chat about? So, depending on the tone of how I'd like the table to go, I'm the one that always answers the question first, whatever it is. So if it's going to be I wanted a lighthearted one, or depending who's around the table, or if I want to get deeper. So I would say, gosh, I would love to invite, say, I don't know, profound psychiatrist around the table that I love, and I would ask him things about mental health or mental wellness or something like that. Something about how can we be better about mental health in our community. And I would ask them, it's really had some struggles. And I would introduce it and say what I had felt. And that would set the tone to give permission for people to become deep in their answer.
Love that.
And the opposite is also true. If I want to say, hey, who's your favorite Disney character? And that would be a lighter flow. So I would set the tone
I
for how
love
it.
that. I love that it has a flow and that each week might have a different feel and a different experience. But, you're repeating. There are some parts that repeat that are very, routine, but then there are other parts that, are updated and new and fresh. I love all of that. And
Yes.
now I want to circle into, you mentioned mental health and mental wellness,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and I want us to talk a little bit. I know that you have had some close proximity to mental health
Oh,
struggles,
yes.
and I would love to hear your thoughts, whatever you feel like you want to share about that journey.
Sure, sure. I think about 10 years ago, we have a daughter. She is absolutely flourishing now, and it is a great place, and she is just doing amazing. We had a daughter. It took a long time to figure out that she had bipolar, and there were so many diagnoses. They just did not know what it was. But every year around spring, she would have an episode and mania and schizophrenia or psychoses or bipolar. They just couldn't pin it down. But over the years, we were dreading having heightened anxiety around Easter. This last time was a year ago, over a year ago, where it lasted 4 months. And we believe it lasted 4 months because on top of the episode, she was in chemotherapy and radiation for breast cancer of stage 3. So we feel like that metastasized with the chemicals and radiation and chemo. And then on top of that, the mania and the psychoses and the bipolar. Um, Come a year later, I think she began trusting her psychiatrist in December, which is the first time I have ever heard her say that in 10 years. That changed
That's
everything.
pivotal. It is really.
It changed everything. And when we found out that she just didn't trust the medical field for her mental wellness, health at all. She told us that she was sharing things with her psychiatrist. We were, what? This is huge. And this past Easter was a time where we did not experience her having an episode. And she is day by day, she's just working through it. And we're so, well, our big prayer has been that she would flourish, has always been in the last 10 years, that God would help her to flourish in her family, in her life, her marriage.
Mm-hmm.
She surprised us this couple months, 3 months ago, and she got her real estate license. So she is an agent. So she works for a company. Yes, and she is loves music. She's an artist. She is so gifted, and I think she sees the value in doing the work to help her health so that there isn't a danger of, losing her family, losing her livelihood. So bipolar is a very serious illness.
Right.
And it takes a long time. I can't tell you how many admissions she's had, many admissions, but it took years, a lot of prayer and a lot of therapy for me, and therapy with Kevin. The first time we ever had therapy together, so that we knew how to navigate what's it like to be in a relationship with an adult who has bipolar.
Right, right.
We did not know.
I think there's so many things that you said that are not uncommon when you're journeying along with someone like that. I mean, the fact that you have to come alongside them and then just know that this might happen again and again and again. The fact that there's not necessarily clarity in your treatment plan, clarity in the medication you need, clarity even in what your diagnosis is. I mean, the journey to find the correct diagnosis, I think, is not uncommon at all. I also have someone in my family who is bipolar, a little more distant relationship, but I've walked alongside that journey, and it's really, really difficult. It's very specific to each individual. Often the treatment formula is very curated for each person, which means that it's trial and error to find your way there. And what my observation is, and you sort of spoke to this, the person who is experiencing bipolar often does not remember what happened, because they are removed. Their mind is experiencing a whole different reality, and therefore they're not as motivated as the rest of us might be watching to try to heal, because they don't remember all of that. That's not their reality anymore. And that makes a whole nother layer of difficulty from my viewpoint that you have to go through. And it's just, I'm so happy to hear that she's opened herself. I don't think it's uncommon to be resistant to treatment or to the medical field. I think that's definitely a layer that often people go through, and just the layer of the stigma of mental health, having someone with mental health. I mean, I think that's a whole thing. It's different from when you have a sick family member. You just are able to talk about it with a different level of freedom when you have a physical illness rather than a mental health crisis.
Yeah, it affected the whole family. I mean, because all your energies were focusing on this one, child.
Yeah.
And as much as we tried to, share in our love with everyone, you're only as good as the weakest kid. So, and we really were just it was quiet. It was a quiet suffering. And we knew that people prayed for us, but we also knew that it was really going to be, is this the road we have? Is this what we're going to do? We're going to accept it. So we needed therapy to help us, okay, we need to have boundaries. We need to have a plan. We need to, and I think some of that work for ourselves, for our mental health and mental care, mental wellness, Kevin, my husband, and I had to get help.
Yeah, that's so important. And there are also grandchildren involved here. So it's not just your own suffering watching your child. It's suffering. You're watching your child's whole family have this experience, and how to respond, having the wisdom of knowing how to come alongside that is a process, a big process.
It is a stigma. And I think if you treat it for the rest of your life, you it's like diabetes, or you have to sort of lean into like what is prescriptive for your situation, and your family your family needs help too, and seeking help uh, is a good thing.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we are just so grateful so much for the love and the kindness and the generosity that people have expressed to us, that we want to so do that for others and just say, we know, we understand. Our story is just, it's hard, and it may not turn out good, because we have had other family members where it didn't turn out well at all. And that was difficult. And so
I really appreciate you being willing to share that with such openness, and share, the difficulties and the joys, because it's an up and down journey. And I think that it's not uncommon. It's not nearly as uncommon as we sometimes think, because of the stigma, because you don't always hear about it or talk about it. I think it's a very common journey for lots and lots of families. I think that the way that you've approached it is really relatable. That you certainly had some fits and starts, but you learned that, we're all going to need some tools. We're all might need some therapy. We need to talk this through with somebody that can help us sort out what's my role in this story. How do I help her, and how do I help myself, and how do I help my grandchildren, and, all the things. So I really appreciate you sharing all of that with us. I really do.
Thank you so much.
Very meaningful. So I love this conversation that we've had. We've learned so much. I kind of, to sum up all the different things we've talked about, I just love your approach to things, that when you enter into something, you go all in and you learn about it, and you come along, you just swarm around the topic basically, and just really lean in and make something robust and interesting. And I just love that. So I really appreciate you sharing all of those different aspects. I know that people are going to want to know more about your Sabbath rhythms, and they're going to want to see all those resources.
I love that. And I can close us out by lighting the candles.
Let's do that.
Bringing us, let me bring it over here, and I will see if I can do what I do. Let me see if I can do. Kevin normally has to help me light my candles.
But they're lighting. I see them. They're great.
They're lighting. I know. So this is what we do. We light the candles. And
okay, one candle is not cooperating quite yet. Here we go. It's getting there.
It's getting there.
It's getting there.
So I just to usher in the Sabbath, I do this.
Hey. For those listening.
Adonai, Elohim melech achalam, asher kirina shuvet tivanu leheldek, ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has commanded us to light lights of Sabbath. Amen.
Amen. That's so awesome. And while you were talking, both candles just lit right up and just brought the light into our day. And I really appreciate this. And I will just mention that we happen to be recording this on a Friday. So it's perfect timing that we're doing it on a Friday. So it's Shabbat day. I appreciate you taking time on your Friday to record this with us.
I am so honored to be asked, and that you're so curious, and it just makes me happy to share this with your listeners. And
it definitely blessed me, and I know it's going to bless a lot of other people. So I really
can't wait.
Appreciate this.
Can't wait.
Thank you so much, and we are all good for today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sally. Talk to you soon.
Hope you enjoyed our conversation today. Here at Create Harmony, we are committed to peacemaking. We are elevating conversations that help people refresh their lives and soothe their souls. And on that note, I need to remind you about our Peaceful Pathways box. Y'all, the summer box is here, and it is chock full of playful summer goodness that you are not going to want to miss. In each box, there's a link to 5 guided meditations, and some of the themes for summer are a walk through the farmer's market, running through the sprinkler in a playful way, or resting in the cool shade. And these meditations give you just enough things to keep your mind busy so that you step away from your life and calm yourself. And also in each box, there are other fun goodies that are provided by Petal and Pink Mental Wellness Boutique. So let me get you excited about what that is. What's in the summer box? What you will receive is a little mini watercoloring kit that is strawberry themed. You can just take a little time, do a little craft. It's calming and very peaceful. You'll also receive a summer garnish trio, and this is for your summer drinks. There's 3 little jars with 3 different flavors. You can add them to your water, make infused water. You can add them to your mocktails. You could put it in a cocktail, and it just elevates the moment a little bit and makes your summer drinks extra special. There's also in the box what we're calling a take a breath jar, and that is what that is. It's like a glass jar, it has a lid. You take the lid off, and there are wool balls in there that have a scent, very calming scent. So anytime your life is just getting out of hand, you could get that jar, take the lid off, and just take some deep breaths and just breathe in that calming aroma. And it's just a way of aromatherapy and just relaxing your nervous system. So you could get a take a breath jar. And then the last thing you get are some little notes that have ladybugs on them. The envelopes have tomatoes. So they're very summery themed. You just need to jot a note to a friend. They're tiny, like about the size of a business card. So a quick little note that you could jot or drop it in a gift or something like that. Just a neat addition to all the goodness in that summer box. Now, I also want to tell you one thing about our summer box. We've been doing this as a subscription, so you had to subscribe for all of the other boxes. You don't have to do that now. You can just buy one box. If you want to just sample the summer box, you just buy that one box. And then if you like it, you could certainly subscribe and get one every quarter, but a subscription is not required. So just give it a try, check it out, see what you think. I'm sure it is going to bless your summer in more ways than you can imagine. If you want more information about that, you can go to mycreateharmony.com and look for Peaceful Pathways box, and that's where you'll find it. And until next time, peace.